What up guys, Miguel here from Yugatech, and we are halfway through 2024 and there have been lots of smartphone releases already. In fact, our newest list for under 10,000 and under 25,000 pesos are out, so y'all can check them out over here. In today's video, we're looking back at some of the best smartphones you can get for just under 15,000 pesos. Take note that the smartphones we'll be covering in this video are those officially released in the Philippines from January to June of this year. Also, the pricing details we listed here are updated accordingly based on their latest official listings online. We will also mention the phones and Antutu benchmark scores to provide a general idea of how these phones perform. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. First on this list is the vanilla POCO X6 5G. This one carries the most affordable price tag on this list, starting at only 10,990 pesos. For the price, it surely packs some impressive specs. It sports a 6.67-inch 1.5K AMOLED display with a smooth 120Hz refresh rate. This display panel can even reach up to 1,800 nits of peak brightness, and we even get Gorilla Glass Victus sandwiched on top for added screen protection. Speaking of protection, the phone also gets an IP54 rating for dust and splash resistance. Under the hood, the POCO X6 5G boasts the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 chipset combined with at least 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage. In our testing, the phone managed to score almost 600,000 points in Antutu's benchmark. At the rear protrudes a triple camera setup that's a 64-megapixel main shooter with optical image stabilization, an 8-megapixel ultrawide, and a 2-megapixel macro sensor. It sports a 5,100 mAh battery and is paired with 67 watts of fast charging. This model also gets a 3.5mm audio jack, which is a rare necessity these days. Is it a necessity? Maybe it's not. Again, the POCO X6 5G starts at 10,990 pesos for the base model, that's 8 plus 256GB, and the 12 plus 256GB configuration still falls within the budget at 11,990 pesos, while the 512GB option goes up to 15,990 pesos. For a price beyond 15,000 pesos, the POCO X6 Pro 5G is a no-brainer. The biggest advantage of getting the Pro variant is it boasts greater processing power. It utilizes the Dimensity 8300 Ultra paired with a faster 8GB of LPDDR5X memory and 256GB of UFS 4 storage. It's miles ahead in Antutu benchmark, garnering over 1.3 million points, the highest score on this list. On paper, both the vanilla and the Pro variants feature almost the same specs, except with a few little changes. Interestingly, this model opts for a Gorilla Glass 5 rather than the Gorilla Glass Victus seen on the standard model. The battery comes with a tad bit less capacity at 5,000 mAh, and sadly, the phone ditches the 3.5mm audio jack. For the most part, these are just minor adjustments and aren't necessarily deal breakers. The POCO X6 Pro 5G's price is currently down to only 15,240 pesos from its original SRP of 16,999 pesos. Next, we have a gaming phone on a budget, the TECNO POVA 6 Pro 5G. It features a unique 3D mecha design rear panel and it throws in some fancy LED lighting effects. Flip to the front, it sports a 6.78-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED screen running at 120Hz and with a peak brightness of 1300 nits. Powering this device is a Dimensity 6080 that comes with 12GB of onboard memory and 256GB of internal storage. Back to the rear, it features a triple camera setup, but don't be fooled. Only one of these three sensors is an actual camera sensor, which is the 108-megapixel main shooter with 10x in sensor zoom. Battery-wise, it packs a larger than usual 6,000 mAh unit paired with a 70-watt fast charger. The device also gets an IP53 rating for dust and splash resistance. The TECNO POVA 6 Pro 5G sets you back only 11,999 pesos. Another one from TECNO is the Vanilla Camon 30 5G. It comes with the same price tag at 11,999 pesos, but it exudes a more elegant design similar to those of its higher-end siblings. The phone sports the same display size as the POVA 6 Pro, a 6.78-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED panel with a 120Hz refresh rate. Equipped with a slightly more powered Dimensity 7020, it was able to score over 500,000 points in Antutu's benchmark. For configuration, it packs 8GB of RAM and up to 512GB of internal storage. The cameras are decent with a dual rear setup headlined by a 50MP main shooter with optical image stabilization along with a 2MP depth sensor. The front camera is an upgrade though, housing a 50MP sensor. TECNO even throws in a dual LED tone flash to help capture better selfies at night, same as the TECNO POVA 6 Pro. Its battery is the usual 5000 mAh unit with support for 70 watts of fast charging. The TECNO Camon 35G starts at 11,999 pesos for the 256GB trim, while the larger 512GB option is priced at 13,999 pesos. This next one has a surprising feature that nobody else has implemented in this price range. Enter the Infinix Note 40 Pro Plus 5G. Boasting a headliner feature, 20 watts of MagCharge wireless charging. Wireless charging is typically found on high-end flagship models, so it's impressive that Infinix managed to implement this into the Note 40 series, all for under 15,000 pesos. That's complemented with a blazing fast 100-watt wired charging, and the phone even utilizes the Cheetah X1 chip for better power and charging management. The battery is a bit lower than usual at 4600 mAh, but due to it being paired with a faster charger, this shouldn't be much of a problem. As for other highlights, it sports a 6.78-inch Full HD Plus curved AMOLED display with a refresh rate of 120Hz and a peak brightness of 1300 nits. It's covered by Gorilla Glass 5, and the phone also gets IP53 dust and splash resistance. Just like the Camon 35G, the Note 40 Pro Plus 5G comes equipped with a Dimensity 7020 chipset, 12GB of RAM, and 256GB of internal storage. Interestingly, it scored lower on Antutu, reaching around 450,000 points. At the rear, it features a triple camera system headlined by a 108MP main shooter with optical image stabilization and 3x lossless zoom. It's complemented with a macro and depth sensor, both having 2MP counts. The Infinix Note 40 Pro Plus 5G is currently priced at around 14,500 pesos. There's also the vanilla Infinix Note 40 5G, carrying a bigger storage capacity at a lower price tag. This model has mostly similar specs with the Pro Plus, but expected to be toned down in some areas. That includes the charging. It opts for a slower 33-watt wired charging and 15 watts of wireless charging, although its battery gets a 5000 mAh capacity. The display and cameras are pretty similar too. As for its Antutu score, it was able to achieve over 480,000 points. The Infinix Note 40 5G currently comes at around 13,500 pesos for the sole configuration of 12GB of RAM and 512GB of internal storage. Here comes another Note device, and it's from Xiaomi this time, the Redmi Note 13 Pro 4G. While it's a bit of a bummer that it's limited to 4G connectivity, its compelling feature set is hard to ignore. The device sports a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display, it features a 120Hz refresh rate, and a peak brightness of 1300 nits. Layered on top is Gorilla Glass 5 for added protection, and it also gets an IP54 rating for dust and splash resistance. It packs the Helio G99 Ultra configured with up to 12GB of RAM and 512GB of expandable storage. With that, the phone scored over 400,000 points in Antutu. The Redmi Note 13 Pro's cameras are perhaps the biggest asset. The rear protrudes 3 cameras, a 200MP main shooter with support for optical image stabilization, an 8MP ultra-wide, and a 2MP macro. This looks promising on paper, but like we always say, higher megapixel counts don't always equate to image quality. But expect the phone to capture images with greater detail. As for battery, the phone packs a 5000 mAh unit with 67-watt fast charging. The Redmi Note 13 Pro starts at 12,999 pesos for the 8+2 56GB config and 14,999 pesos for the 12+5 12GB model. Want a 512GB phone for less? The Honor X8B fits just right, coming in at only 12,500 pesos. It has a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display, but with a lower refresh rate at only 90Hz. However, Honor claims it can reach up to 2000 nits of peak brightness, although this doesn't really matter that much since this is only useful for certain scenarios. Say you're watching HDR content, only some parts of the screen would reach this maximum brightness for a short amount of time. The chipset is a bit dated, the Snapdragon 680 garnering a measly score of over 300,000 points. Its redeeming feature is surely the massive 512 gig storage capacity. Perhaps another great feature is its camera capabilities. The phone's triple camera setup protrudes from the rear. It consists of a 108 megapixel main shooter, a 5 megapixel ultrawide, and a 2 megapixel macro sensor. And for selfies, it features a 50 megapixel front-facing camera, housed in a pill-shaped notch alongside a dedicated LED flash. Battery is rated at 4,500 mAh and supports 35 watts of wired charging. Moving on, we have the Realme 12 Plus 5G, boasting the Dimensity 7050 chipset. With this chip, it was able to score over 600,000 points in Antutu. Its display can also reach up to 2,000 nits of peak brightness, but with an asterisk. And it's the same explanation as with the X8B. This level of peak brightness is only useful in certain scenarios. The device sports a 6.67-inch Full HD Plus E4 AMOLED display and runs at 120 Hz. Flip to the back, it features 3 cameras consisting of a 50 megapixel main, an 8 megapixel ultrawide, and a 2 megapixel macro sensor. Surprisingly, this model has a 3.5mm audio jack. This phone is also IP54 rated for dust and splash resistance. Battery-wise, the phone gets the usual 5,000 mAh unit with 67 watts of fast charging. The Realme 12 Plus 5G sets you back 14,999 pesos. And last, but definitely not the least, is a solid comeback, the Cherry AQUA GR. For a local brand, this one is on par with the offerings from popular brands. This phone also boasts the Dimensity 7050 chipset with over 530,000 points in Antutu. Cherry took a bold approach with the back panel design and crafted this large rectangular camera island. The camera sensors are even aligned horizontally at the center, and it's got a triple camera setup, headlined by a 50 megapixel main shooter, an 8 megapixel ultrawide, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. As for the battery, it packs a 4,700 mAh cell with 66 watts of fast charging. The Cherry AQUA GR is priced at only 11,999 pesos. And that finally wraps up our series of the best smartphones for the first half of 2024. Which do you think is the best contender in this price range? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. But if you found this video educational, informative, or fun, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon so you get notified of our future uploads. Be sure to visit egatech.com and follow us on our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been Miguel, and I'll see ya in the next one.